Hostile broadcast detected.
So, agents, I got a chance to look at the comms. The whole Keener is alive revelation came up so fast, all I could do was react. But now that I've had a moment, there appears to be a bit to discuss. I'll spare you the replay of all I found, as you have more eloquent sources to hear that from. But I picked out some stuff to comment on. One of the things I noticed is Bridget Viper Douglas's continuous links to everything Keener had going on. She was the honeypot that seduced Faye, which then segued into her enticing Lau into joining the Black Tusk. Then, after Natalia somehow allowed Faye into the BTSU ranks, Viper then proceeded to convince Natalia into giving Faye some elevated clearance. The exact clearance Faye needed to enact Keener's plan of planting one of Theo's programs onto Black Tusk servers, which could in time make Ana available nationwide. Viper is so important to the cause that Theo's tricks of decoys and fake watch vitals and whatever Ana did to fool Isaac should have all been used to fake her death too. With all this sleight of hand we've witnessed, I wouldn't be surprised if Viper was actually still alive. That somehow she was a shadowy figure that was following after Kelso. I'd even be halfway crazy enough to believe that Kelso never got up from that shock treatment, and that our contact lenses are actually seeing Viper right off into the sunset with Theo and Keener while Kelso's hogtied in the back of that van. It's silly, I know. It's just hard to think you took down a hunter without at least getting another mask to hang on the wall. With the conspiracy theories out the way, the most likely scenario is that Viper's gut feeling was right, that when it came to working with Keener, that it probably wouldn't end well. I mean, she'd seen Conley, Kajika, and Dragov all fall at your hands. She had to know it'd only be a matter of time before you caught up and dealt with her too. So, if everything is as it seems, and Kelso's gone rogue, then I can understand her decision of wanting to complete Faye's secret mission. She idolized Faye, and she was distraught when she thought Faye turned heel. So when she got clued into Faye's legitimate reasons, well then she naturally bought into Keener's plan for herself. Different than Faye though, Alani was considered enough to message you along the way. Not messages to Rhodes or Benitez or even Manny. Not that Manny wouldn't understand. Anyway, back to my point. Agents, she thought of you. She may have been a little vague, but I believe she shed enough light to let you know what she was up to. And you deserve transparency, agents. You always have. Now in hindsight, you probably wish she would have told you about the little hand buzzer thing. But the shock of finding out the truth and the potential bowel movement wears off quickly enough. Besides, I'm not sure she could have told you outright that basically you were the key, or at least that it was on you in the form of Keener's watch. As much as she trusted you, she just couldn't risk you blowing up the whole operation because you decided to stick to the orange playbook. Look, there are a lot of moving parts to all this. The part that bothers me the most, the part I happen to hate the most, is you, Aaron. Because you're too much of a wild card. Sure, you're many steps ahead of most, and you come off as this cool villain that's unfazed and in control at all times. The kind that's detached from everything but the main goal. The type that's intelligent and focused enough to put aside any emotional ties because they only make you look weak. The kind to remind and demand that his subordinates keep their eyes on the prize in the face of any potential distractions. You know, like the times you warned Viper and Theo about their personal connections. Viper with getting too close to Faye, and Theo about his father's death possibly being orchestrated by Natalia. But beyond the stone-cold facade, I see you for who you really are, and you've made this very personal. And it's been festering in you since you were abandoned in the dark zone.
They underestimated me once. They won't make that mistake again.
That's why you're comfortable with going those lengths of creating the Eclipse virus. Lengths, mind you, that your own allies like Viper and Jupiter were against. Lengths that almost made Faye walk away. It's personal with you because it's an affront to your own psyche. Because despite all your thoughts on Natalia's evil deeds about her rebranding the world to her image, in the end, you would do the same thing. You just don't like that it's her sitting in the driver's seat. I wonder what Theo would think if he knew the truth. He wants to save what remains. And while you make it look like that's your motivation, I know better.
We're here to save what remains and rise from the ashes before there's nothing left to save.
I know you signed on to save what remains, but sometimes what remains isn't worth saving if all it does is kill you faster.
See what I mean? You really are a vanguard of narcissism. You'd like to make folks think that you can make them immortal because your ideals are so grandiose. But 3/4 of your warlords know the truth and how empty your promises ring. I could go on, but there's apparently more pressing matters than you right now. So on to our friendly neighborhood senior intel analyst. It's pretty clear I have a bone to pick with Keener. It's one that goes all the way back to Midtown. But you make a compelling enough argument to give me pause. Isaac is indeed stupid. And the more of our folks that aren't relying on him or Cal for access to their shade equipment, the better. Besides, I love more people having the pleasure of access to a superior AI. If we can buy time for Theo to turn on nationwide access to the Rogue network through his net of mobile shade servers, then maybe it is time for a change. Now, I don't know if you really know what you're asking, but if you can deal with an opinionated Red Ring, then maybe I can admit that Keener is in fact small fry, and I can in fact postpone the trek to Brooklyn. But when this whole Nat business is over and we put a damper on her PR stunt, or we retrieve the folks she still has, the journey logically takes us across the old East River Bridge to deal with Keener, then I just might be sending you a bill. I'm gonna kindly ask you repay it. The White House attack was my last straw. I was so upset with Manny that I questioned the division, and I was flagged rogue because of it. The fact that you mentioned it struck a chord, but it also pulls on the old heartstrings. You're right, you sound a lot like Keener, and much like him, you hit on the right motivations. But unlike Keener, working with you won't mean I'll be working with a bioterrorist. These are desperate times indeed. So if there aren't any objections from my fellow Red Rings, then I have 3 words for you. Let's f***ing go. I'm so excited. I'll be watching, agents. Wait, what? Agents, I hate to bring the mood down, but apparently, contact with Silver Creek has been lost. Transmissions from there had Agent Mackenzie Amber Reed calling for backup, but it may be time to fear the worst. I know I'm a rogue by all of Isaac's accounts, but I'm a different shade of red. None of my motivations take any pleasure in the loss of an orange ring. Regardless what the system says, some of us are still brothers, just different sides of the aisle. Here in its entirety, Agent Reed's final distress call.
Welcome to Silver Creek, a sweet little town in middle America. You know the kind. Pumpkin patches, apple pies, and the best damn cup of coffee you'll ever have. Silver Creek was perfect, up until it wasn't. The green poison changed everything for everyone. It started in New York on Black Friday, the biggest shopping day of the year. They called it the dollar flu because it spread on money. The virus knew no boundaries. No matter where it hit, the bodies piled up. And when it spread to Silver Creek, the result was the same. Death. I'm Division Agent Mackenzie Reed. Originally from Kansas, I was stationed in Boston when the shit hit the fan after Black Friday. I left Boston and came to Silver Creek looking for Killian Tower, my commander. Well, he was my commander until recently. For reasons unknown, he disavowed the division and is now a rogue agent. Killian betrayed my team and murdered them. He gunned them down and fled. No clues, no motive, only a bloody trail for me to follow. That trail has led me to Silver Creek. I wasn't prepared for what I found. I wanted answers, but all I got was more questions. Why is the virus different here? Why did Killian murder the team he proudly commanded? And why is he amassing an army of Reapers in Silver Creek? Everything I've seen tells me that Silver Creek's at the heart of something big. I can't do this alone, Agent. I need your help.